How many Egyptian firstborns had to die so that we can sit around Seder tables every Passover and tell our story of liberation? Did you ever do the math? How many Hebrew slaves had to die in the Egyptian labor camps during 200 or 400 years of forced labor and restriction before enough was enough? Did we ever do that math? Math may not matter when it comes to myth, but math matters when reality, our reality, is this raw. It matters when this trauma, this reality we're living with is old, old, old. We don't know if the Exodus was fact or fiction. Maybe both. Does it even matter if it's history or legend? It's a story. It's the central Jewish story of our birth as a nation and our liberation. It's a story that we celebrate each spring when the moon is full around the Passover tables. And it's a story we tell each year on our cycle of Torah. And this week, this Shabbat, we're back again in Egypt, in the narrow places each of us contains within, and all of us collect in our collective memory. It is where the Exodus awaits again to let the people go. On this Shabbat, we read the second Torah portion of the second book of the Torah, beginning the campaign for freedom, led by an imperfect leader, Moses, fighting to extricate his people from Egyptian occupation. This Shabbat, we read about the first 7 of 10 brutal acts of terror, plagues, perhaps political negotiation, suffering for everybody, starting with a river of blood. Let my people go. What is the moral dimension of our national origin story? How does this story sound and feel today as we mourn the ongoing pain of our families in Israel and stunned and enraged witness the mounting deaths and destruction in Gaza? As we live with horror the expanding violence and rage right here in our own home, in our hearts. What are the traumas we are telling ourselves about who we are and how we came to be a people? What are the moral, ethical, spiritual pain points that we inherited alongside our legends and our legacy of prophetic faith in love and justice? What is the intergenerational traumatic moral injury that we as Jews and we as people are still wrestling with today? What are the patterns of power and plight that claim us and name us and maim us and determine how we act, how we hurt, what defines our choices and our failures, our regrets and aspirations? As our teacher and lab shul friend Jack Saul taught us several years ago, we have this question to ask: how can we move from moral injury towards moral repair? How do we move from moral injury towards moral repair? How do we not let the patterns of the painful past paint the present picture of horror and prevent a worse future? Can we interrupt what we inherited? Can we interrupt this story? Perhaps we can begin by repairing, by paying attention to the prophets. The ones who not only have the courage to talk truth to power, but who are perceptive, see the arc of justice for the long-term journey that it calls on us, and remind us that we are part of each other's lives in ways that defy the old definitions of me versus you, the binaries of belonging, when in fact the only way to survive and thrive is to work together for and with each other, everybody's safety, life, and liberation. That's the only story that will help us to repair. That's the lasting legacy of Reverend King, the American prophet, whose memory we are honoring tonight. King read the Bible carefully, and for him the story of the Exodus, not without moral complexities and challenges, was a religious blueprint for collective liberation. The cry of "Let my people go," King said, is more than a request for deliverance from physical slavery. It is a call to the eternal freedom of the children of God. Well, the immense tragedy of this moment, 100 days into this cruel war, is rooted in one of the threads of our tradition. One of the threads of our tradition that claims that not everybody are children of God, and that some are holier than others, some land is holier than others, and some are more destined to life than others. That is a thread in the tapestry of our tradition. That is a story we inherited, one of many, not the only one. And so the children now are captives and victims and killed in numbers we cannot even fathom or barely count, sacrificed on the battleground for liberation that challenges the core of who we are, what we believe in, how we want to be, and who we want to be in this world. We are at a crossroads of major moral injury. And we will need to work together. Whatever "we" means, and whatever together looks like, towards moral repair. We need a new Torah. We need a new story, a new thread. We need a new Torah. We need to be honest about our origin stories that include ancestral traumas and deep suffering and the killing of every Egyptian firstborn. We need a new Torah. We may not be able to change the ancestral stories we inherited verbatim. It is written in the book and in the scroll. But we can change the stories that we choose to tell and how we choose to tell them. Because we need a new Torah. We need a new Torah that goes beyond the binaries to reimagine a new way of being in the world. For King, this too was central to the vision. His words echo still for this country. and our duty to dismantle the systemic racism. His words echo loud today for our families and friends in Israel and Palestine and all over the world. He said, the challenge that we face today is to make it one in terms of brotherhood. Through our scientific and technological genius, we have made of this world a neighborhood, and yet we have not had the ethical commitment to make of it a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a siblinghood. We must all learn to live together as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools. We are tied together in a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the way God's universe is made. This is the way it is structured. It is on us to move the needle bit by bit, breath by breath, truth by truth, pain by pain, from moral injury towards moral repair. And it begins with how we face and fix our sacred stories. There will be time for us to hear each other's hurts, to listen closely to our stories, to protest this war, and to protect our loved ones, to explore how we tell the troubled tales that's coming up of Purim and of Passover, the stories we inherited that are troubling and toxic. There will be time for us to be who we want to be and figure out what story and reality we want to change. Tonight, as we are sitting here, I want to end these words, this plea, with a quote from a poem that was published 2 weeks ago in Hebrew, written by Elchanan Nir, an Israeli rabbi, and translated immediately by a few of us who found it to be a powerful prophetic voice for this moment, a plea for repair, a new story right now. Right now. This is the time. I'll just read just a bit of it. You can read the rest in the reflection that I posted earlier today with my postcards from Jerusalem. The full Hebrew and English poem is there alongside other musings, and even dare I say, a poem of mine that came blurting out during this latest visit to the Holy Land that is so, so hurting. עכשיו אנחנו צריכים תורה חדשה. Now we need a new Torah. We need a new Torah like air to breathe. We need a new Torah. We need a new Talmud, new Kabbalah, new mystical essence, and in all the brokenness and salt and ruin now, a new Hasidism and a new Zionism. We need new art and new poetry, new literature, new cinema, new ancient words, new ancient souls from the treasury of souls, new love out of this terrible weeping. And we have in us no mountain, and there are no more tablets. And we have no Moses, and we have no strength. And into our hands, everything now has been given. ובידינו עכשיו הכל ניתן. It is on us to face and fix our sacred stories. It is on us to claim our moral injury and co-create repair. It is on us to love our people, all our people, all people, and let our people, all our people, go, be free, and be home. Can we be each other's prophets? Can we transcend the math, the myth, the trauma, and be the healers for each other's lives? I hope so. It's on us. Shabbat Shalom.